Hello, welcome to Video Mania 2. I'm the man behind the counter, Duncan, and today we're going to revisit a more obscure Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. It's Derailed from 2002. It's directed by Bob Mizorowski. It stars Jean-Claude Van Damme, of course. Susan Gibney plays his wife. Thomas Arena plays Mason Cole. Laura Elena Herring plays Galena Constantine. And you'll also see appearance from Van Damme's real-life son, Christopher, who plays his son in here. Now, this movie has a really great premise, and overall the plot is pretty good. The execution at times leaves a lot to be desired, because in 2002, around the time of the Bourne Identity, this quick cut editing, all these jump cuts, close quartered choreography, sometimes, and the shaky cam, all that, it's kind of hard to decipher what's going on. And that's what happens here. Now, this movie, like I said, starts out quick. It's a brisk 129 minutes. So here, Van Damme plays a family man, but he's also a covert op. His name's Jacques Christophe. And his boss calls him on his family vacation, on his birthday, and they're like, "We need you to get Galena Constantine. She's transporting something very important to us. You got to get on a train and get her to Munich." And he's like, "Something about this doesn't smell right. There's no other outs. There's no one else to do this. Do we have to use a train?" And he's like, "Look, this is the only way. All the outs are blown." So he meets up with her in a theater, and then soldiers start going after her because they want what she has. And this is where, the stylized action starts coming in, the quick cut edits. Like, there's some wire work because they're in a theater, and so she has some wires for the props, and they go up to the atrium and stuff in them. But the overly stylized is kind of hard to decipher what's going on at times. And when you see Van Damme, you want to see him do all his famous kicks and splits and stuff. And here, you don't see that as much because they're going for style. And so then there's a car chase after that, and there's times it's exciting, and then other times some parts were jumbled together, like when the car crashes, and then the special effects are a little dodgy at times, but it doesn't take you out of the movie. That doesn't come till later. So after all that, they get onto the train, and that's where Mason Cole, Thomas Arena's character, shows up, and he's looking for what Galena Constantine is carrying. And he takes over the train, and Jacques Christophe, his family, tries to surprise him to spend time with him, and they walk in on him because he had one of the suites in the train, and they see him with Galena Constantine. They're not doing anything, but they get the idea. What are you doing with this beautiful woman? And so he has to try to save his marriage and, keep his family together. And it turns out he's got to save the world, too, because Galena Constantine is carrying a variant of smallpox. And so, obviously Mason Cole wants to get a hold of that, for obvious reasons. He tells the passengers on the train, "I'm not here to make any political or religious statements. I just want what Galena Constantine is carrying. She's quite striking. You can't miss her." But he also kills one of them to show he means business. He really wants to achieve his goal. And his goal is to take over the train, get the biological weapon, and then get on a helicopter and get out of there. But things go wrong because Jacques Christophe doesn't want him to escape with it, and he wants to save his family. But also, when Mason Cole gets a hold of the biological weapon, Galena Constantine tries to grab it. One of the vials breaks, and the whole train's in the ventilation system. Now everybody's getting sick, especially the younger people. The older people still have a little bit of the vaccine left from smallpox. So if you're a little bit older, like born in the 70s, it buys you a little bit of time, and you can stay a little bit healthier for a little while anyway. But Mason Cole also has to hold, his team together to, look, we'll make an antidote. Don't panic. Let's just achieve our goal, and we'll all be fine. So he does that, or he tries to, and Jacques Christophe tries to thwart his plans. And also, part here where the helicopter picks him up, Jacques Christophe, they have a fight scene on top of the train, and he ties the helicopter ladder to the train so the helicopter crashes into the mountainside before the train goes into a tunnel. So that's the premise here, is he has to save his family and basically the world, because when he calls the WHO, they're like, look, if you don't get this back, we're going to take out the a bridge where the train's going to be heading, and we're going to take it out because we cannot unleash this. You have to understand. So he's got to try to save everyone on board, and his family's among that. So that all here, the stakes are there. The acting here is good. Thomas Arena does a good job as Mason Cole. So the villain's there. Here's where the problems are. Like, some of the scenes on top of the train is bad green screen work. It looks really bad. And then some of the CGI, at times, it just doesn't work here, and it takes you out of the movie. There's also parts where they use models for the train, and that looks okay. It doesn't look amazing, but it looks okay, and it doesn't take you out of the movie. But then there's some scenes on the fight train as well, where Bob Mizorowski, I guess he was going for this stylized thing, and in this close-cut quarter fighting, and it just didn't work at times for me. But there were other times, like he would do a split screen where Galena was fighting someone, and Jacques Christophe was fighting someone. They did like this dual screen thing. That was kind of stylish, and that was pretty cool for a split second. That actually worked okay. To me, I thought that was a nice touch. But what kind of hurts this movie is just some of the things, especially there's a scene where Van Damme's character, Jacques Christophe, he gets on a dirt bike, on a storage car for bikes and cars on the train, and he has to jump off the train, and they quick cut edited, and it just didn't look good. It didn't work. I'm like, if you don't have the money to do that, maybe you should have just not done it, because they quick cut edited it, and next thing you know, he's on the ground outside the train. I'm like, you didn't execute the jump, and you just cut quick. It didn't work, and I think that's where things should have been cut at times. So that's what hurts. And what made me revisit this movie and reminded me of it is when I was watching Expendables 4, which is a guilty pleasure, but the not so nice things you heard about it, a lot of it's true, like the green screen work, and a lot of that just was not its finest hour, for that franchise, and it looked really bad. But it caused me to go back to this. Now, unlike Expendables 4, the acting here is pretty solid all the way through. And another thing, unlike Expendables 4, this movie didn't have the budget and resources that Expendables 4 should have had. So, you can excuse some of the dodgy special effects, but even for 2002, some of these things just didn't work. Now, ultimately, the movie, I will give it a 3 out of 5 because I'm a Van Damme fan, and I think the premise works. I just think some of the execution, especially some of the editing at times, and the green screen part just didn't work. So, is this Jean-Claude Van Damme's best? Obviously not. It's not as good as his late 80s, early 90s stuff. This had a premise like his classic Sudden Death, but it didn't have anywhere near the budget. So, some of the execution was off, and I think maybe they should have tried something else, to fill in that character arc, what it needs to do, because you just didn't have the money to pull it off, or I don't know what they were going for, but it didn't work at times. So that's what was frustrating about this. Now, the movie overall, this was during Jean-Claude Van Damme's straight-to-video era, so sometimes they were hit and miss, because, his last theatrical movie for a while was 1999's Universal Soldier: The Return. Then he started making a series of movies that usually ended up straight on the blockbuster shelves, and he didn't return to the theater until 2008 with JCVD, where he played a fictionalized version of himself. And then the big budget action spectacle, Expendables 2 in 2012, that was a big spectacle. That was another theatrical release for him. But this one, for his straight-to-video, it kind of falls in the middle. It's not his best. It's not his worst straight-to-video one. It's okay. And I have fun with it. Come from a late night of work and you want a breezy hour and 29-minute action movie. This delivers that. It's just, at times, these special effects will take you out, and some of the editing and the way things were put together is a little frustrating at times. So if you can get past all that, you can have some fun with this movie. it's not that bad. But I can see why it's not a favorite among Von Damme's fans, myself included. But when I watched it the other night, I did have some fun with it. So that's my thoughts for today. Let me know in the comments what you think of it, where it ranks in some of Von Damme's movies. Any other things? Do you watch it? Did you like it? Did you think the special effects could have been better in the editing? Any of those things? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.